Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I went on and on about the one guy that made the comment that people that are, like he said this on TikTok, he's like people don't really get compliments usually as guys. They usually get, like it's usually the woman, if they're in a relationship, that the guy, everyone's talking about the woman in their life. They always get all these compliments that the guy doesn't get any or hardly any, or they don't get any gifts or whatever. And it's expected that the guy gives gifts and all that. I mean, a lot of times I think for the women it's very confusing, well, especially a single woman. It can be very confusing because a lot of women get hit on way too much and are put in very bad situations. Like they have men that are over the top flirtatious, or men they don't like being flirty or whatever, and or men that just claim a woman's old when she's like 50, but they claim she's old and she's like really good looking still. But they age, like ageism is a real for women, eating disorders is real for women. I think so that happens to a lot of women. So I think when you say that men don't get compliments or don't get any kind of accolades, you have to think, a lot of women might find it confusing, and maybe they wish they didn't have that many because it's annoying sometimes. Especially if you're a lesbian. I mean, a lot of lesbians get hit on by men like crazy, and a lot of these lesbians are like, well, I don't want a man to hit on me. I would rather not. So you're like, well, is it good to get hit on tons as a woman? Well, some would think yes, of course, but some are confused, and some of them get treated really badly despite it. So does it matter? So anyway, I think that what that guy is trying to say, I don't think he's saying, poor guys, poor guys. This is like the guy that made the comment about guys not getting compliments. I think what he's trying to say, not poor guy, or, not like, why are you suffering guy, even though to some extent he might be saying that, because some of those people are very lonely as men. But I think what he's trying to say is we constantly look at women's issues, we constantly have women support other women, we constantly have men who support women, we constantly have this and that about women, we constantly talk about women being gorgeous and this and that. Even in the industry of modeling, women are more popular than men. And so what he might be trying to say is, there's some aspect that we might be missing here. Men might feel like they're constantly being accused of things, or they're constantly being like targeted, like, you know, men can say things that women can't, but some of the men that say these things are major targets, and they're only saying it because they've been rebounding off of something that they said before, or somebody commented that they said something, so they're just always like that, but they don't want to be, right? So, it's I think I think we definitely have to look at both men and women, and not for mental health purposes and mental health. A lot of men and women are both feeling down or both feeling upset or have a hard time, being hit on like crazy by the wrong men is not good, and nor is it good to be never hit on and never get gifts as a man, right? So, it's all relative and different viewpoints and different things. As a guy myself, as Marco obviously, as a guy myself, I kind of like going about my day not worrying about someone being over the top flirtatious or whatever. I can just do my thing and not really worry. Most people don't expect me to, be with them the minute they see me. I mean, some people do, but they don't say it. So it's different. It's a different kind of popularity and a different kind of viewpoint to have. Like I find as a good-looking guy, I don't get a lot of like flirts. Like people don't flirt with me a lot. I find people are too intimidated, so they try to flirt with me backwards. They try to find something to say that'll get me to flirt with them, even though I have no interest, and and then they get mad if I don't respond. But that's normal. Like I mean, when I'm interested in someone, if they're not giving me what I want, then of course I'm going to be upset. So it's normal. But when you're the actual person living it, you don't really, you just feel like this is terrible. But it's common sense that happens. Like if I see someone that I really like, guy or girl, and they're not paying attention to me, or they're with somebody else, of course I'm going to be upset. But of course I understand they might be in a relationship, whatever. so I'm not worried about it. But I mean, of course, I'm gonna be like, I wish they'd go out with me. But some people, because I'm good looking, I'm more easygoing about that. Some people are very possessive, and some people are very upset when they see that I'm not responding. And I can understand it to some extent, but other extent, I'm like, well, I can totally understand it. I'm very good looking, so if I'm not responding, they're like, why should I care about him? And that happens. It's typical. It does happen to a lot of people, but you have to not mistaken that as a bad thing. It means they liked you, then they wanted to date you, and so if they wanted to date you, that's a compliment. But because you're not showing any interest, it's like that common term. Like everybody likes a person that will sleep with them immediately, and if you're sleeping with everybody, they all like you. But if you're only sleeping with a select few, and you're good looking, then only a select few will like you, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, if you're easy and you're sleeping with everybody, then obviously everyone's gonna like you. But if you're picky and you don't want to sleep with just anybody, then people are like, what? They're not gonna care. They're like, well, they're not dating me. They're not doing this with me. So why would I bother treating them well? So it's like, it's that whole thing about, well, if I can't have you, no one can, right? But that's obviously wrong, but people don't see it that way because they don't want to admit to that. But they don't admit that you don't like them that way. But, it's kind of, that's what it is. It's essentially just like, if somebody sees you and, if you, like I said, if you are dating everyone under the sun, then guess what? Everyone under the sun is going to like you. If you're only dating a select few people, then people are going to be jealous or whatever, or say negative things. But it's better as a person to stand up for what you believe and pick people that you want to select, and even if it's a few people, than to be everywhere and risk STDs and all that. So it's like that common thing with celebrities, right? Like when a celebrity's single, everyone's like, oh my god, but they can only choose only a few people, and if they choose, I mean, the most somebody could possibly date would probably be about maybe, in their lifetime, I think the most people that somebody could date, I mean, let's say they dated 3,000 people in their lifetime. I mean, that's a big stretch. I mean, most people would not even come close to that. But let's say they did 3,000 people in their lifetime, right? And then there's some people that would date maybe 10. They dated, then they got married, then they maybe had a divorce, or maybe they stayed married, or they got remarried or stayed married to the first person, or got married and stayed with the second person. Like maybe they just have only long-term relationships with one person at a time, and they never cheat, and they're always with them, and they only leave if it's like really bad or they don't want to be in there. They wouldn't just leave if they just felt like, oh, I want to leave. But they stick it out the hard way, and they stick it out the long way. They always are very good to people that they're with because they stay with them. Obviously, if you're a celebrity, everybody wants you, but if you're the type of celebrity that dated 3,000 people in your lifetime, then you're probably going to get more of a friendly reaction, even though it's probably not as good for you, than you would if you're dating the 10 people. And people are, once you're an actual celebrity, people treat you well regardless, right? So you could date one person your whole life, and no one's going to be like, oh, why are they dating me? They're always like, oh, look, they're cute, they're a celebrity couple, I want to live vicariously through them, right? You know what I mean? Like, so it's all relative, darlings, and I digress, darling, bye now.